Nigel Farage, welcome to the show. Thank you for patiently waiting there as your friend Donald Trump was speaking at the White House. Nigel Farage, you've just returned from a vote on the situation in the Chagos Islands. Of course, Donald Trump earlier on called it an act of great stupidity. What's the latest?
Yes, an act of great stupidity for no reason whatsoever in capital letters. And that is because what the British government did, they went round in Washington just over a year ago telling the US administration they had to surrender sovereignty of the Chagos legally, and that's why they'd done the 100-year leaseback deal. And the Americans shrugged their shoulders and said, well, this is the least worst option. What the Americans have, and by the way, I've been lobbying as hard as I can on this for months, what the Americans have now woken up to is the fact the British did not tell them the truth. There is no legal basis for this whatsoever. And despite this, the government is still pushing on tonight in the House of Commons, throwing back to the House of Lords some improvements and amendments as the House of Lords saw it. I simply don't believe this can go on. I simply don't believe that, you know, when David Lammy told us a year ago, if the Americans didn't like this, we'd stop it. I think what's happening tonight is a charade. I do believe that what Trump has done is to sink this Chagos deal below the waterline. At least I very much hope so.
Nigel Farage, you want to give the right to the Chagossian people. I'm joined in the studio by Misty Mandarin. You want to give those people the right to a referendum, a say. Because isn't it funny how Keir Starmer says that the future of Greenland is uniquely up to the individuals, the citizens of Greenland and Denmark, but the Chagossians don't even get a say?
Yes, no, he believes in national self-determination. He believes in the United Nations when it applies to Greenlanders, but not to Chagossians. And he believes in international law as and when it suits him. And what's extraordinary tonight is we were expecting to vote on some amendments in the House of Commons on giving the British Chagossians a referendum, and that's been ruled out by the government as having no legal force. So we're not even getting a chance to do that. And the Minister, Stephen Dowsey, just said at the dispatch box, I've listened to a range of opinions from British Chagossians. Well, you know what? I don't believe him.
Nigel Farage, on last night's show, we carried the interview with yourself and the Speaker, Mike Johnson. You were very firm on Chagos, putting it back on Donald Trump's radar. Suddenly, it is back on Donald Trump's radar. Perhaps you might have had some influence there, Nigel Farage.
Well, I think so. And I think what we did learn is that Speaker Mike Johnson did talk to the President last night. He might have been surprised. I think Mike Johnson might have been surprised just how strong I was on this particular question. So, I can't say game, set and match GB News, but I can say we've been very influential in what we've heard from the President about this Chagos Island surrender overnight. And you know what? As a channel, we should be proud of ourselves for playing our part in this.
Nigel Farage, another huge contentious point, of course, is the cost of this giveaway. One of the votes tonight where we were trying to get full transparency on the cost of the great Chagos giveaway. Are we any nearer to finding out the true figure?
No, you can't find it out because it is adjusted for inflation over 99 years. So on the original settlement, if inflation runs at 2% on average over 99 years, it'll cost the British taxpayer 35 billion. If it runs at 3%, it'll cost the British taxpayer 52 billion. Bear in mind, we're paying for what we actually own ourselves. This is the worst deal I've ever seen in history. It is bad for our national security. It's going to upset the Americans enormously. And whatever we think of some of the things Donald Trump says, remember, without the Americans, we are literally defenseless. It's going to cost the British taxpayer a fortune that it doesn't need to spend, and is an absolute betrayal of the rights of the Chagossians, who, frankly, we've treated terribly for the best part of 60 years.
Nigel Farage, you said yesterday in that interview with Speaker Mike Johnson, you think the special relationship is at its lowest nadir since the Suez Canal crisis. Today, perhaps it's worse. Donald Trump calling this an act of great stupidity, showing total weakness. Tony Blair was often chastised as being America's poodle. Is Keir Starmer worse? Is he pointless?
Well, all I can think is that what Starmer is doing is potentially damaging our relationship. The military base on Diego Garcia is America's most important military base in the world outside of mainland America. If we found this treaty went through and within a couple of years there was serious spying and listening operations taking place against the US forces, we then would have lost one of the most important contributions that we make to that special relationship. So it is long term for our own security very, very dangerous indeed.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Nigel Farage, as I have you, one final quick question, if I may, and that is Zia Yousaf was in this studio a couple of weeks ago saying that Reform UK would apply for a full legal challenge, of course, against the decision by Keir Starmer's government to deny 4 million people the right to vote in local elections. I understand there's been a significant breakthrough on that case.
Yes, we were in the High Court today. We've got through the first phase. There'll be a full hearing on the 19th and 20th of February, a full judicial review in the High Court where we will argue that there is no reasonable justification for cancelling these elections, in some cases for a second year in a row. And whilst it's dangerous to predict what's going to happen in legal cases, I honestly believe we've a very, very strong argument.
You think this legal case could force Keir Starmer into yet another humiliating U-turn?
Well, if we win our judicial review, and we think the odds are in our favour, if we win our judicial review, he'll have to U-turn, and all of those elections would have to go ahead. So we're going to fight all the way on this one, we really are.
Nigel Farage, thank you for joining us on GB News Tonight. I know you're very busy. Get back to your votes. Thanks for your expertise, as ever. Thanks for joining us there from the Palace of Westminster. Let's get back to the studio, waiting patiently throughout that very expansive Donald Trump press conference. Hey, it's his birthday. He can talk if he wants to. I'm joined now by the interim First Minister of the Chagos Islands, Misli Mandarin, of course, is my panel tonight. That's the former Conservative MP and Minister, Sir Ranil Jayawardena, and the journalist and the former press secretary to Paddy Ashdown, who didn't enjoy Donald Trump's press conference one iota, Joe Phillips. Welcome to you all, Misli Mandarin. Let's turn to you first. A day of mixed fortunes for yourself and the people of the Chagos Islands. We're hearing here the government seemingly refusing to allow these votes to go through, sticking by its guns, and yet Donald Trump may have hoved into view at the 11th hour. Are you hopeful there could be a dramatic intervention and your dream will come true?
Thank you for having me, Martin, and thank you all the GB News viewers. It's appalling what the government is doing right now. They had the chance. The most powerful man in the world, right, defensively, is a partner with Britain in the global security, say that deal is stupid, is wrong, but the Labour government go ahead through it. With only 2 MPs rebel to it. That's everything. You have to remember, those Labour MP, their constituent is watching what they're doing right now. They are watching what we're doing right now. What they're doing to me as British, what they're doing to them, right? Not protect them. So if this is appalling, I'm angry about it. They had the chance to change it today, but they did not.
Let me bring my panel in now. Thank you, Mr. Mendrin. You've been waiting very patiently. In fact, one of those MPs, those rebels, was Graham Stringer. He was sat in that very, very seat there a while ago. He told me earlier on my show he was prepared to lose the whip, if necessary, over this. He thought that his own party, his own leader, his own Prime Minister's deal was shameful. And yet, Joe Phillips, it's been voted through.
Well, it is shameful, and Misley's absolutely right. And in fact, this time last week, I think it was, this bill was going through the Lords, and there was a very good opportunity for the government to halt, just draw back a bit and say, we need to re-examine this. I would just question the involvement of Donald Trump, because it was made very clear by the then Foreign Secretary David Lammy, and I think he said in the House of Commons that if America was opposed to the deal that was being proposed, then it wouldn't go ahead. Now, Nigel is claiming that the US was misled. The US has got enough lawyers and enough people that they could have used their own information and intelligence to say, hang on a minute, this is not a binding legal direction. So why have they left it till now? And also, you know, if Donald Trump saved us, he could buy Chagos.
Well, perhaps you could probably afford it. In fact, it'd be probably a lot cheaper than buying Greenland. That might give the solitude and the safety to the Chagossians they require. But Serrano, bringing you in now, we have to talk about this hypocrisy, do we not? Everybody from the Labour Party parroting this line, and they are correct, by the way, that it should be the right of the Greenlanders and the Danish to decide the sovereignty of Greenland. And yet, it hasn't been the right of the Chagossians to decide their own fate. Instead, Keir Starmer just deferred to international law again.
Well, yes, this is the great hypocrisy, and hypocrisy has made this government come unstuck before. Free glasses, free suits, free holidays. The hypocrisy has caught them out already, and again it's catching them out, because if you say, as they have, that the self-determination of Greenlanders must come first, then that surely must be applied in all situations, including with regards to the British Indian Ocean territories. And the problem here for Labour is that they have now put so much political capital behind this. We know that they've already had 13 massive U-turns. We know that this is a government in office and not in power, that they so desperately want to avoid a 14th. I suspect, though, that if they don't take this action, that now the American government is properly interested in this and is going to be forceful about it, that America may well just seize these islands themselves in the months ahead. And I would warn one thing here to Labour, which is that they cannot foresee how unstable the world is going to be in the months and years ahead. The British Indian Ocean Territory has been absolutely crucial for both Britain and the United States in protecting our interests and the interests of our allies around the world.
But it was the Conservative Party who set this ball rolling. Look, we must remember that.
Okay, let me be really clear about this.
Kemi Badenoch had a conversation didn't she, with the Speaker?
Well, yes, so let me be really clear about this, Martin, because it's important for political balance that this is set out. You know, yes, James Cleverly did begin a negotiation. I'm not going to pretend otherwise.
He began the giveaway.
He began a negotiation. I'm going to use the technical terms. He began a negotiation. David Cameron took on the role as a Foreign Secretary. He immediately scrapped the negotiations. There was no driver for Labour to have to begin them again. They chose to. They didn't have to do that. They're spending £35+ billion. And Kemi Badenoch, alongside Nigel, yes, both had that conversation with the Speaker of the House, Speaker Johnson, yesterday, and that has delivered the change that we need to see.
OK, we have to move on. Cyrano, Joe, Mr Mandarin, thank you to you all. Now, a government spokesperson has told GB News this: the UK will never compromise on our national security. We acted because the base on Diego Garcia was under threat after court decisions undermined our position and would have prevented it operating as intended in future. This deal secures the operations of the joint UK-US base on Diego Garcia for generations, with robust provisions for keeping its unique capabilities intact and our adversaries out.